Hi there, I'm Lauren Goldenberg. I'm here to introduce to you the 10-week individualized sports performance training program that I'm going to be running at the Penguins Performance Training Center at the Lemieux Complex this summer from June 1st to August 15th. It's going to be an all-encompassing program, very well-rounded. And with me doing this at this facility, actually, it's a bit of a return home, if you will, because I started when I moved to Pittsburgh at this facility, opened it up with Gary Roberts and UPMC back in September 2015. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to come back in here and share with some athletes some of the great workouts I've got prepared for this summer. This presentation is going to be a little all-encompassing. I just want to give you a quick little overview. I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about my background and my why I'm in this business, how I got into it, a little bit about relationship building and mentoring and how that's been important for me throughout my career and how I have mentored and shared experiences with the athletes and some of the other coaches that I've been with over the many years. We're going to talk a little bit about key performance indicators as it relates to injury prevention and resiliency, trying to stay healthy throughout the off season and the hockey season. I'll give you a big picture macro look of what a real professional training picture looks like and how I periodize it and break it up into different segments. And then I'll give you a focus of the 10-week breakdown as this program is going to be run at the Lemieux complex. I've been working in the professional level, if you will, since 1987. I've had a great opportunity to work with a number of NHL teams, OHL teams, Quebec Major Junior League teams, whether it was the NHL, the OHL, or the AHL for that matter. I never would have guessed I would have made it based on my inability to play house league hockey as a kid. It was tough for me. Hockey was not my sport. But when I did stop playing hockey, I got into football and became a real football guy, if you will. Aside from working with the teams, though, I do have significant experience running and managing sports performance facilities. As I mentioned earlier, the one at UPMC that we opened in 2015. I also owned and operated the Athletic Conditioning Center in Ottawa for 17 years. We were a very successful operation. Had some amazing NHL talent that came through that program. And as some of you may or may not know, I've worked with Gary Roberts pretty well his whole NHL career. And when he opened up his high performance training program in 2010, worked with him in building that up, building that out, coaching his athletes. And I still work with Gary closely to this day. But as I mentioned, I was always a football guy trapped in hockey and had a difficult time trying to get jobs in football because everybody perceived a Canadian as a hockey person. So when I applied with NHL jobs, it was always a challenge. But when I left UPMC in 2018, I got really lucky in that I got an opportunity to work with this professional football player. If you're from Pittsburgh, you'll recognize him as Ben Roethlisberger. I got hired by him in 2018 to be his performance director, to help him with his training, his nutrition, his pregame preparation, injury, recovery, rehab, what have you. And it was an amazing opportunity for me to be able to work with a quarterback at his level who had won a couple of Super Bowls, and it was my foray into NFL football. Now, my why is not really a touchy-feely, I want to help people kind of thing. It's a fundamental reason why I've been in this business, because it does feel good to help people in this area. But mine was more about being able to stay in athletics. I went to the University of Ottawa, did my phys ed degree there, played some football. And when I stopped playing football, I still wanted to be involved in athletics. And I came to the conclusion that helping athletes prepare to perform and to play in their sports was the way I was going to be able to stay active. So I got to work with teams like the Ottawa Rough Riders, the Ottawa 67s. That introduced me to a number of future NHL players, Gary Roberts being one of them. But Nautilus fitness equipment, which this picture kind of shows here, it was my first real structured program that I ever participated in back in 1977. And I really loved the science behind it because it was the first science-based program that I was familiar with. I got very passionate about the success that I was having with it and how I could share it with other people as I became working in a Nautilus fitness facility. And this whole idea back then with Nautilus was that you were going to train for one set to muscle failure, which is kind of unheard of now. That's not to say that it would not work, because I actually still do use that training technique depending on who the client is. But it worked for many, many years for myself until I learned about the benefits of Olympic-style weightlifting and the benefits of periodization, which led me to be a little bit more open to other training modes that I could utilize for myself and for my clients. Now, I created this post as a result of a social media post that I saw that a facility owner had put up. And he went on in this post to say, it was a letter, if you will, to all of his followers. It was, "Dear coach who works with pro athletes, please stop acting like every one of them is your best friend. They likely don't think of you that way. You're not much different than the person who does their hair, cuts their grass, or parks their car. It's transactional, and that's okay." And I'm a big believer that relationships are not transactional in this business, but they're essential. And I use this picture as an example. This is Montreal Canadiens. This is my office in Montreal Canadiens weight room back in 2009, 2010. And these guys here, Scott Gomez, Travis Moore, Roman Hammerluck, Dominic Moore, Paul Metropolitan, they came into my office literally every day, well before the workouts were going to be starting. And it was not to find out, what are we doing, or, how long's practice going to be, how long is the strength training session going to be. They came in just to say good morning, say hello, tell me about their night, share mine with them, because the relationships were built on trust and caring. And these guys knew that I cared about them, and consequently, they cared about me. It was an amazing experience, and I truly believe that these relationships are important as we go through our career, whether you're a coach, whether you're a player, whether you're a teacher, it doesn't matter. But building relationships are key. And as I mentioned that, I think it's important to note or recognize this is a picture from my facility, Athletic Conditioning Center in Ottawa, and this is a group of my staff. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor here, but the guy in red is Adam Douglas, who is now the strength and conditioning coach with the Pittsburgh Penguins. I got J.R. Leger, who went on to his own successful business. I got Matt Price, who is the third in from the right here, who is the performance director, sports science director with the LA Kings. There's myself and Andy O'Brien, who's second from the right, who was Sidney Crosby's coach and trainer his whole life. And as you'll probably recognize, a very young Sidney Crosby, who came in the day before the NHL draft to have a training session at my place. I was blessed to have some amazing people come in there. Guys like Joe Newendike, Corey Stillman, Daniel Alfredson, Zach Bogosian, Danny Briere. We had many, many, many NHLers. And as we talked about relationships and how important that was, these guys who worked for me, these guys who trained with me, this past September in Ottawa, I came in as a mentor, if you will, to mentor the performance staff of the Ottawa Senators. I spent training camp with them. It was a great experience, kind of watching them work, providing feedback for them, things that I might suggest that they do or look at considering in their programming. And then the two guys on the right, we talk about relationships. Daniel Alfredson in the middle, and Ben Sexton, two assistant coaches with the Ottawa Senators, who worked with me in the Athletic Conditioning Center for many, many years. So As I said, relationships, building that trust, building friendships, so important, whether you're a coach, a player, or a teacher. It doesn't matter what you're doing. They're essential to success in life. I want to talk a little bit about the KPIs for hockey, and we'll just hit on these 5 points very quickly here because I'm sure most people are aware of it. But being able the ability to repeat shifts at a very high intensity over a 60-minute game. Not a lot of people think about this, but it really is your aerobic capacity. How effective is your aerobic capacity at helping you turn over your different energy systems and helping replenish the energy systems? And high aerobic capacity is really important for that. Speed is key. Everybody's talking about speed these days, especially with regards to hockey. Being hard and fast to the puck, being hard and fast into open spaces, be hard and fast on the forecheck and on the back check. Speed kills, and speed is something that needs to be utilized in your off-season training program to help you get better in season. Power and quickness, especially in your first three strides, your change of direction, absorbing and delivering body checks, being able to protect yourself when a check is coming on. That is all a key part of being powerful. Strength is really the foundation for all the things that we do, especially for speed and for power, because without it, you're missing parts of that speed-power equation. So a big part of the program certainly has a focus on strength training and mobility. Mobility is essential, especially for the hips, the pelvis, and your spine. Especially if you're a hockey player, if you're losing mobility in these areas, you're going to have a tougher time being an efficient skater, if you will, and more prone to injury if you are too tight. As I was mentioning in the last slide, with regards to the hip, I'm going to talk a little bit now about femoral acetabular impingement and hockey players and why it's so important to really consider the hip in our training programs. FAI is really a motion-related hip and groin disorder. It results in a bony abnormality of the femur, which is called a cam, or it's a bony abnormality of the acetabular side called a pincer. So people get these through constant flexion and internal rotation. It causes an abutment, if you will, of your femur and your ball and socket kind of crunching into each other, which causes pain and your inability to move. It's clicking, it's locking, it's giving away. It's a very, very common injury, and the prevalence of femoral acetabular impingement in the general population is about 15%. And they don't even know they have it, and it's significantly higher in an athletic or group population. Some of the group issues that we see. This is a paper that the reference is at the bottom here. Hip and groin region sustains up to 8 times body weight during jogging and higher during more aggressive activities. So it's taking a pounding with the training and just regular exercise that we put on it all the time. And there's a risk of cam deformity is about 15 times higher in youth ice hockey players and age-matched counterparts. This is taking in a number of meta-analysis looking at these kids in these different age categories and the hip injuries that they've incurred. They also found that 16 to 19-year-old hockey players were 4.5 times likely to have a cam deformity than age-matched skiers, and that's because downhill skiers are really a linear sport where movement at the hip it's so curvilinear. There's a lot of abduction of the hip, and your hip really wasn't made to abduct or move out as it does in a hockey game. So the prevalence of a cam deformity is as high as 89% in athletes participating in activities that result in impact loading of the hips as compared to non-athletic control. So it's something significant, and it's one of the reasons why during the assessment that I will complete for all the participants in the 10-week program to to really determine where their hips are. And I'm not going to go into great depths here with regards to, what each one of these little hip assessments that I'm doing, or the reason why. What I'm trying to get my point across here is that we do a complete and full assessment of the hip to try and determine whether your child will require some corrective exercise before we start loading them with any kind of heavy loads, because we know if we just start working hard and working heavy and working on max strength too early with some kind of underlying issue, then it's going to lead to more issues down the road. Now this is a macro view, if you will. This is a full, for you can see on the top here, April to September, the different phases that I would take an athlete through if I had them for a real complete summer. So this is an example of what we used to do in Ottawa, or with the Gary Roberts program, where we get some kids early, and in early April we start with corrective exercises and general strength and conditioning. We morph into strength and power, and then into speed endurance. And there's dedicated weeks, depending on when we get the athlete. Could be 4 to 11 weeks for our prep cycles, or general strengthening. Could be up to 6 weeks for strength and power. And I will mention, this is for OHL level kids, college kids who we get at an early point in time. And the variables, which I know is hard to see in this video, vary depending on what the goal is of that specific cycle. We've programmed in different recovery weeks. We programmed in the conditioning, the plyometrics. So it's definitely an all-encompassing program. And what now these days, it is so difficult to try and get that amount of time out of somebody, even the pros, because there's so much hockey going on, especially in the off season, whether it's spring hockey or even summer hockey for that matter. So what I've done is I've created this 10-week program that we're going to run out of the Penguins facility. And here we've got our prep phase, which is phase 1, the corrective exercise and hypertrophy phase. There'll be 12 sessions. We're going to train 4 times per week here. Then we've got, we morph into a strength phase, which is our phase number 2, where we're going to have a moderate increase in intensity. It's going to be just a 6-session phase. So we're going to train 6 times that week. It's going to be heavy. And then we will go into strength and power, our 3rd phase, where we're going to have an incremental increase in intensity and velocity. This is going to run from June 30th to July 18th. There's going to be 15 sessions between those dates, 5 times per week. And the final phase that we go into to lead towards into training camp is a power endurance phase. The focus is going to be on speed endurance, being able to do things very fast, very quickly, and being able to repeat and do them over and over again. That's going to be from July 21st to August 15th. There's going to be approximately 14 sessions, or 3 to 4 per week, if you will. There are a couple of recovery days that are going to be built in here to allow the kids to kind of acclimatate to the volume of work that we're going to be doing. And I think it's going to be a really successful, intense, hardworking summer for those who are going to participate. So I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this. My email is here on the left, lauren.goldenberg@gmail.com. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and look forward to seeing you this summer at UPMC Lemieux Sports Clinic. Thank you.